Hello, good evening. I am Samuel Kojo Braze, your anchor for Joy News Prime. Our headlines this are: Parliament orders GRA to suspend payment to SML until after an investigation by the Finance Committee of the House into the matter. Details as the minority promise a showdown during the investigation. Also, stop sabotaging the party, simply resign. General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party issues stern warning to non-performing government appointees as he demands that President Akufo-Addo reshuffles his team. Flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Mahama, raises concerns over the NPP government's inability to operationalize the Komenda sugar factory. Now, a 24-year-old graduate stripped, beaten and robbed in a moving taxi at 7:30 p.m. urges vigilance during festive period. Details as her family members are not happy with how the police is handling the matter.
I didn't even know there was a police station there where they dropped me. So the first thing I saw was a police station and I was happy because I was like, oh, at least the police will follow up. Nobody was interested. There were patrol cars. Nobody was interested in sparking to see, let's see how we can chase. Nobody was interested.
Now, Parliament has asked the Ghana Revenue Authority to suspend all payment related to the contract on revenue assurance with SML until after an investigation is conducted into a deal by the Finance Committee of the House. According to a Finance Committee's report, which has been adopted by the House, GRA should cease all payment to the company from 1st January 2024. Addressing journalists, Minority Leader Dr. Casey Alatoforsen urged the Finance Committee to do a thorough job and hold its investigations in public and not behind closed doors.
Parliament adopted the report of the Finance Committee, and as part of the report, the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana has resolved that the Ghana Revenue Authority must immediately stop all payment to SML, all payment to SML, beginning January 1st, 2024. Again, the resolution of Parliament is that the Ghana Revenue Authority must be aware that the contract that the Ministry of Finance signed with them to SML constitutes a multi-year commitment. And Section 33 of the Public Financial Management Act is clear on the matter, that all multi-year commitments must be presented to Parliament for consideration and approval. So the contract in its current shape is not valid and must come to Parliament for approval. It is also important to note that the same Finance Committee, working with Parliament, has resolved that Parliament is going to initiate a probe into the SML. I urge the Committee of Finance to conduct this probe diligently and in a manner that will show transparency. So it shouldn't be held in secret. We should open it to public so that the public will hear what is going to happen, what the committee is doing. I'm very confident in the Committee of Finance, particularly the NDC side of the committee. You know, the Honorable Jinapo is here and he will do what is right. The Honorable Adongo, working with the Deputy Ranking and members of the Finance Committee, I'll be part of the committee and will do what is right.
Kweku Asante has been in Parliament for us and has joined us with details. Kweku, member of the committee, John Jinapo, is promising a showdown.
Yes, you saw him there standing right beside the minority leader making this point. He says that this is a big situation that the minority have been paying close attention to. Their belief is strong that there are certain underhand dealings that has been going on. And so they are going to do a really thorough job on this, even while Parliament will be on break, that ultimately there will be a showdown for Ghanaians to see the corruption that has gone into this deal, allegedly.
Indeed, I can confirm to you that the MPA has what they call the ERDMS. The ERDMS gives you real-time data, and this ERDMS has been hooked to ICOMS, which is customs. They also have automatic tank gauging systems. They have a bulk road vehicle tracking system. And when we met the MPA, they confirmed to us that indeed there was no need for this revenue assurance measure. And so let me assure the minority leader that we will do a diligent job. We'll put the nation's interest first. Because when you look at the contract, from the oil sector alone, Ghana produces about 60 million barrels of oil annually. If this company is to take $0.75 per barrel, it means that in 1 year, they are getting about 45 million US dollars from the oil sector alone. If you add the minerals sector, which has to do with our gold and other minerals, it means that they can potentially walk away with $100 million every year. When you add the 24 million cedis per month, culminating into almost 280 million cedis, your guess is as good as mine. And so we hold the view that with immediate effect, and that is the operative word, with immediate effect, all such payments should be suspended and halted until the Finance Committee is done with its investigation. And I bet you, and let me be clear on this, there will be a showdown at the Finance Committee.
The minority also wanted the deal to be brought before the House for approval. What's the basis for this call?
To commend our colleagues on the other side, on the Finance Committee, for seeing reason with us. This is a unanimous decision by members of the committee to try and put the interests of Ghana first. What we have done today is to demonstrate to the people of Ghana that the Parliament of Ghana is worried about the reportage regarding SML and the Ghana Revenue Authority. And at this point in time, we have set in motion a process that gives Parliament control over whatever is happening at GRA in respect of several other agreements. The SML agreement, we know under Section 33 of the Public Financial Management Act, which the minority pushed very strongly at committee, requires that when a government commits over multiple years, those multiple-year agreements must be approved by Parliament. And SML goes beyond 1 year, so it must necessarily be brought to Parliament for approval. There will be several other such agreements that would have to come, because we know that GRA is not only contracted to only SML. As a matter of fact, in this House, the law that we passed for e-levy, we indicated clearly in that act that the GRA should not contract any external person to collect e-levy. But it has come to our attention, based on the agreements that we have collected, that they have actually signed on to an agreement for a private person to collect those taxes which are in violation of the law. So that will also be investigated.
Now, the minority in Parliament say the President's refusal to sign some 3 private members' bills passed by the House into law breaches the Constitution. A few weeks ago, the President explained fully why he refused to sign their bills, arguing they infringed on Article 108 of the Constitution. In Parliament on Friday, the Speaker, Halman Bagbin, presented a detailed statement to the House where he accused the President of turning himself into the Supreme Court and interpreting the Constitution.
In the absence of a judicial determination from the Supreme Court, the President's unilateral assessment of unconstitutionality does not hold legal water. It is a departure from the established legal procedure, norms, and practices that govern our constitutional democracy. The appropriate lawful response, if there were genuine concerns about the constitutionality of the legislative action of this House, would have been to seek judicial review from the Supreme Court. The steps taken by the President in this matter reflect a misunderstanding of the constitutional process and undermine the principles that uphold our democratic governance. The constitutional responsibility to determine whether a bill falls under Article 108 or not is mandated, and it resides in the person presiding over the proceedings. Under Article 1068, when the President refuses to assent to a bill, two courses of action are available to him. Firstly, he is required to state in the memorandum to the Speaker the specific provisions of the bill which, in his opinion, need reconsideration by Parliament. Alternatively, the President can inform the Speaker that he has referred the bill to the Council of State for consideration and comment under Article 90 of the Constitution.
Is triggered against the President.
The President is constructively aware of the exercise of your discretion to admit this bill. So he cannot, after everything is done, go and write a letter like this to this House. Mr. Speaker, it is important to note that there is a provision in Article 69 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, Article 69 of the Constitution is very, very important. That is the article that deals with the issue of removal of president. Removal of president. Mr. Speaker, it's very, very important. Removal of president. It says that the president shall be removed from office if he is found in accordance with the provisions of this article. A, to have acted in willful violation of the oath of allegiance and the presidential oath set out in the second schedule, or in willful violation of any other provision of this Constitution. He has willfully violated the provisions of the Constitution that give us the power to do what we have done, and which also gives him a responsibility after we do what we have done. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that we should begin to think of triggering the provisions of the Constitution relating to what to do to the President when we willfully violate a provision of the Constitution. We should begin triggering those provisions. The President has violated the Constitution. Violation of the Constitution is ground for his removal from office. Mr. Speaker, I think that is where the direction of discussion should be going from now onwards.
According to them, the President only wants to lay the ground to refuse to sign the anti-gay bill into law when passed.
I agree with Honorable Ayariga that the President clearly is in breach of the Constitution, and then the impeachment under Article 67 must start now. Article 69 must start now. Mr. Speaker, it is very absurd that after the President has assented to the criminal offences amendment bill into an act, the President will bring a memorandum that he is refusing to assent. What I am suspecting is that the President is trying to preempt assenting to the famous LGBTQ bill. That is why he is having this afterthought of trying to now refuse a bill that he has already assented to. Mr. Speaker, these bills are private members' bills. They are very, very important bills. They are of national and international concern. So if the President feels that, this is a bill that he ought to have done, but he failed to do it. And he took a private member from the NDC side to shepherd this particular bill into law. And he's now trying to arrogate that to himself and take credit for what is not due. Mr. Speaker, I don't think the House should allow the President so to do. Mr. Speaker, what will resolve the problem and probably guard against Article 69 of the 1992 Constitution is for the President to do the honorable thing by assenting to the bill.
Now, the majority has a different opinion.
Position of the majority has been canvassed by the deputy majority leader that unless and until we have copies of your own statement, we are not going to debate this matter. Having said so, Mr. Speaker, Majority Leader, I have not called on you to debate. I call on you to comment. But you stated that I had the opportunity to research. Yes. And I'm saying that you also have that opportunity because you also got the letter the same day I got the letter. So if I did my research, you have also had the opportunity to do your research. The other members are agreed, but not you. Mr. Speaker, it is what you have read. Are you going to give me the opportunity now then to also read what I've also researched? Is that what you're going to do? You're not going to do that. And that is why I'm saying that I am aligning with what the deputy leader has said, that we need time to study what you have said. Because it's taking you more than 1 week. The Speaker, having said so.
Now, let's take this week's Joy News editorial.
Human rights, but not women's rights, Mr. President? That's a question on our minds. Mr. President, father of the nation, the defender of human rights, all your life you heard stories of women, especially in the northern regions, being attacked and sometimes lynched because someone accused them of being witches. When you were the Attorney General, you achieved many things but failed to tackle the phenomenon of witchcraft accusations in the northern belt of the country. In the 5th year of your presidency, an old woman by name Epia Dente was lynched. The country was outraged that her assailants were so callous as to whip and hit her until she died. Mr. President, you went to the Savannah region and vowed never again.
I will make an appropriate contribution also to the Epia Dente Foundation to express my own revulsion at the awful, tragic act that has occurred in this region. It is vital, as the regional minister said, that it should not happen again, and we should all work together to ensure that never again do such acts disfigure the face of our nation.
What then became of your Epia Dente Foundation? Nothing is the answer. Mary Ibrahim, a trader, was nearly killed a few months after you spoke in the Savannah region. She was also accused of dabbling in witchcraft. Asibi Dut, a resident of Sokogu in the northeast region, recently lost a limb as a result of a witchcraft accusation. She used her arm to deflect a machete aimed at her neck. The culprit of the horrible act has fled, and the police have abandoned the investigation. Many more people have died since then. From August to December 2023, we have counted at least 5 women who have been killed. Joy News is astounded that you are not angered by these senseless killings. In all of your public appearances, you have remained silent on these heinous crimes. The police have done little to bring these criminals to justice. The Attorney General is silent, and our dearest father and defender of human rights is also deafeningly silent. 3 members of parliament, led by the Medina MP, Francis Xavier Sosu, supported a bill to abolish witchcraft allegations and save many women. That bill has been passed, yet it took more than 122 days to reach your desk, Mr. President. Mr. President, you said it was Parliament that had delayed the bill. But if indeed you cared enough about this bill, you would have drawn the attention of Parliament to it behind the scenes. As a human rights advocate, we expected you to give your assent to the bill. However, you have shockingly refused to sign the bill into law. You cite constitutional justifications and impediments to support the argument that a private member's bill should not impose a financial obligation on the consolidated fund. This, Mr. President, is mind-boggling. It is astounding. The state owes it to vulnerable women. The government is supposed to offer shelter for victims of domestic violence. It is the responsibility of the state to put an end to all forms of discrimination against women. The state is not taking on additional responsibility as a result of signing the bill. The bill only reminds the government of its obligations. Mr. President, you said you were interested in the bill and that you would allow the Attorney General to reintroduce it. This too is shocking, considering the Attorney General's office was involved in the drafting of the bill in its current form. To demonstrate that the state was attempting to eradicate the so-called witch camps, the Attorney General cited the Anti-Witchcraft Accusations Law to the CEDAW committee recently. Mr. President, Mr. Gender Champion, why are you dragging your feet in a matter crucial to the protection of women? The new bill is not asking the state to do anything new. It's not imposing any possible burden on you or on our state coffers. The state has signed many international treaties already that enjoin it to protect women. Mr. President, you have voiced good intentions. You have spoken enough. Now is the time to put pen to paper, sign this document. Now is the time to act.
Well, I'm sure if the president is watching tonight, he might probably sign the bill into law, because some of the things we recounted in that editorial are just gory, and it reminds the president of the promise he made some time ago that he needs to do this to protect the women up north and anywhere in Ghana who are accused of witchcraft. Mr. President, all the nation wants is for you to act, really. This is still Joy News Prime. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back. Welcome back from the break. Let's take you to our earlier story where the minority in parliament say the president's refusal to sign some 3 private members' bills passed by the House into law breaches the Constitution. A few weeks ago, the president explained fully why he refused to sign the bills, arguing they infringed on Article 108 of the Constitution. In Parliament on Friday, the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, presented a detailed statement to the House where he accused the president of turning himself into the Supreme Court and interpreting the Constitution. Let's bring in Associate Professor at the University of Ghana Law School, Professor Kwadwo Appiah-Tia, who believes the president could have a point in deciding not to sign the bills. He joins us via Zoom. Now, Prof, grateful for you to join us here. What could probably have gone wrong?
Well, good evening. I think that's the question is whether the government has the president has the constitutional powers to do what he did, because that's what is a bone of contention. But first of all, if you want to explain what a private member's bill is, which is at the heart of the disagreement, it is about the power that is given to members of parliament. Indeed, it extends to you and I as individuals, civil society organizations, and so on, to contribute to lawmaking in the country. But to be able to, normally is a minister of state or a government official that will propose a bill which goes to cabinet. Cabinet will review it, submit it to the Attorney General's office to see if it meets the constitutional threshold, and then it goes to Parliament for the various steps to be taken.
Okay.
And then it goes to the president to assent it into law. But if it comes through as a private member's bill, the challenge is that it has to meet a test which is provided under Article 108, which is the whether the particular bill, if it becomes law, will not put extra burden on the state's purse or the consolidated fund. If the law, when passed and implemented, will increase the revenue of the country, it is acceptable. And it's a good law, of course.
Okay.
But if it is going to drain the purse, then it has to get the approval of the executive.
Okay.
And so, normally, before a bill is passed by through the executive process, the Minister of Finance may have proposed that in the budget for the next year, that we have money to be able to deal with any financial issues that the bill will bring about. And so if it's a private member's bill, Article 108 says that it has to meet that test, that it will not cause undue strain on the governmental purse.
But Prof, in this process, the Attorney General was involved. Isn't it one of the things he should have been looking out for to see whether it meets the test so it could go on?
Yes, definitely. But the whole idea is that there can be some either some procedural missteps or some other reason, which that is why the president is given the power to veto a bill, which has been a law which has been passed, and for his assent. So that means that there could be some mistakes along the way, and so he is the last person to clear the pathway and say that indeed the law has met all the tests, all the various angles or various arms have agreed that it should pass. Therefore, it passed. So he has the power to also determine if the law should pass or not. Or sometimes it goes through the Council of State for their opinion before it becomes law.
Okay. So it's a tussle now. In 30 seconds, what should be the remedy?
The remedy is, as the government has proposed. Well, first of all, the president has a time frame within which to give detailed reasons for not assenting to the bill. And as it is now, he has not done that. So we are dealing more with speculation. But if it's going to be Article 108, the president also stated that he would, he's not trying to stifle Parliament, or he's not trying to prevent private members' bill. But at the right time, he himself will introduce a bill, in which case it will go through the usual process which we know of, in which case space would have been made in the Constitution for that to be taken care of. So I think that much as the law is a good law, and it's supposed to promote human rights and so on, if indeed we don't have the resources, then it has to wait. And we just hope that the president will come clean and make good on his promise to make sure that the law is introduced through the executive angle.
All right. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us. Professor Alfred Kojo Tia, PhD Tia, is an assistant professor of law at the University of Ghana Law School. Now, a 24-year-old graduate was stripped down to her underwear, beaten and robbed in a moving taxi at 7:30 p.m., 48 hours ago. And she is urging vigilance during this festive period. The family members of the victim are dissatisfied with how the police is handling the incident which happened at Hacho. Maxwell Agbagba of our security desk has more.
It's just about 5 minutes from here to get to the victim's residence. And this was where she stood to wait for the taxi, which already had one man at the front seat, the driver, and then another man at the back seat. She's been narrating what she encountered on the journey to us.
Whilst I was in the car, The driver complained about traffic being on the road, that he wanted to diverge. And I was like, no. If that's the issue, I want to get down. So I looked at the traffic he's complaining about, and immediately I turned my head to look at the traffic. The guy sitting next to me covered my face, covered my nose, covered my head, put me on his lap, and started punching me. I don't know the time the passenger in front came to sit next to me. They took my phone, asking for my phone password. So they were hitting me, punching me. So I was trying to raise my head up to see where exactly I was. So every time I raised my head up, they would knock me and push my head back down. They were speaking the three dialects. Knocking me and pushing my head back down. Say, so when you didn't work hard, my head with you. Now when the taxi driver and answer, in the car and punching me, hitting me. I was trying to scream. Maybe if anybody else aside the police can hear my voice. When I was screaming, I think that was what was pissing them off more. So they kept on hitting me that I should keep quiet, punching me every part of my body. So they stripped me naked, they took my dress off, tied it so tight. My dress was a very thick fabric, so I couldn't see to see where I was going. So while all this was going on, the car was just moving. I didn't know where I was. So I heard them saying something like, yeah, they know come malam no ho. If I no see malam no ho, go do malam no ho. You malam no pay and the deal pay bia. So I was nervous. In my head, I was like, this is really my last day on earth. We are taking her to the spiritualists to do the lesser God, so he can use her for whatever he wants to use her for. So that was what I think that meant. So in my head, I was like, this is really my last day on earth, and I don't think I can survive. I was teary because I was thinking about my family, my friends. Like, nobody knows where I am. If I was supposed to die here, nobody knows that this is where I came to die. So they took everything from my bag, my 2 phones, my money, my everything, my national IDs.
What kind of phones did they take from?
It was a 12 Pro and a 7 Plus. They took everything. They took my national ID. My rosary was even in my bag, thinking they'll even say, take your rosary and go away. They took everything away.
Well, so this is the spot where the 3 men dropped the 24-year-old victim. She tells us that she had to find her way from here to the junction before she managed to get home.
So they just threw me off. When you see my knee, I have some sores on my knee. They threw me off with my head still covered. So I had to now untie the dress. I was running with like a dress covered on my head. I was running, asking to untie it, trying to ask for help. So someone should help me. But I look like a mad woman. Everyone who sees me would think I'm mad because I was naked. So I haven't been able to sleep. I can't eat. I don't remember last time I actually ate. It's just what I've been drinking throughout. Every time I close my eyes, I still remember how the guy covered my face. Like, it's just a dark scene. I personally think everyone needs to be careful. Be one step ahead. Think smarter than whoever you are with. Everyone is a suspect.
You are dissatisfied with how police is handling the matter. Can you tell us more about that and what exactly you want police to do?
So when I ran to the police station to ask for help, they were not really interested in whatever I brought to them, because I didn't even know there was a police station there where they dropped me. So the first thing I saw was a police station, and I was happy because I was like, oh, at least the police will follow up. Nobody was interested. There were patrol cars. Nobody was interested in sparking to see, let's see how we can chase. Nobody was interested.
This is really an overwhelming account by this young lady there. Now, to other stories, stop sabotaging the party, simply resign. Those are the words of the General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party as he issues a stern warning to non-performing government appointees as he demands that President Akufo-Addo reshuffle his team. He expressed worry that their actions are capable of sabotaging the electoral gains of the party ahead of the 2024 general elections. He spoke at the party's Thanksgiving service held earlier today. There's more in this report.
The purpose of the Thanksgiving was for the NPP to express appreciation to God for the protection and mercy granted to the party and government in the year 2023. The NPP acknowledged the challenges it faced and highlighted the lessons learned to improve moving forward. Justin Frimpong-Kodia visibly contended while addressing party members, called for the resignation of non-performing government appointees and urged the president to reshuffle his government.
My last question goes to the appointees of this government. If you were a CEO, deputy, MMC, and you believe you can no longer work for government, resign and let others do the work if you are not included in the reshuffle.
So we a minister, we a CEO, we a deputy, we a MMDC. Now say we reshuffle in the so now wow trans now shenwa bra fredumano eto member party no.
It is time for a change, for others to continue the work. If new people come and work, we will have victory in 2024's election.
But how do party members perceive this demand by the General Secretary?
How can one person be in one position? There's some changes. Then we're moving on. Because it's cycle, but change.
NPP flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is touting the achievement of the government in managing the economy despite the shocks he attributes to external factors. According to him, the measures put in place are what is yielding the steady decline in inflation from 35.6 to 26.4 and in the inflation recently reported by Ghana Statistical Service. Dr. Bawumia, who was addressing party supporters at a Thanksgiving service, assured that going into 2024, the progress made so far will move the economy into full speed towards economic recovery.
We've had to work extra hard to lessen the burdens that crossed into 2023 with us. We started the year with an inflation rate of 53.6% in January. As we speak, the rate for November is 26.4%. A significant drop. And when you look at inflation, it has come down. But what is even more remarkable is that prices of items that we normally buy, cement prices are falling, fuel prices are falling, cooking oil prices are falling, iron rod prices are falling, rice prices are falling, maize prices are falling. And this is telling us that something is happening, because normally we see increases, but we are seeing declines.
A flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Mahama, has expressed worry about government's inability to operationalize the Komenda sugar factory. The factory, built in the central region, was expected to produce enough sugar to reduce importation of the commodity. Speaking at the Mintimazi Palace in the central region, John Mahama says the NDC will ensure the blueprint for the operationalization of the factory is followed. Nanaya Ojima has more in this report.
The building Ghana tour of the National Democratic Congress is in the central region. This is the final region that the former president and the NDC will be doing to end the second phase of the tour. Now, earlier, the former president visited the palace of the Ogwa Mahine, and he had to put before the chief and the traditional authority the mission and vision of the NDC government when voted back into office. He spoke on the economic challenges of the country. The country is retrogressing. If it was a VIP bus on a road, I would have said it has fallen into a ditch, and we will need an experienced driver to help. Where we are now is not a child's play. We need an experienced government to redeem the country. Whenever NDC is in government, you know the central region is not neglected. There is a lot of development in the country. The NDC under your son, Professor Atta Mills, as president, channeled a lot of development into the region. We handed over the Komenda sugar factory to them, but they failed to operationalize it. We planned to seek resources to help farmers cultivate sugarcane to feed the factory, but they couldn't do it. When we are voted into power, we will ensure the factory is operationalized.
Na mi oji this NDC ba them factory no Komenda sugar factory obeye ejuma.
Osabarima Kwesiata of the Ogwa traditional area also had the opportunity to advise the former president, John Dramani Mahama, on his next government if he is successful in staging a comeback into office.
This is still Johnny's Prime.